The following telephone recordings are from the summer of 1986. This narration is being done in January 2015. The 1980s.
We're sorry.
The number you have reached.
Please check the number and dial again.
We look back at the 1980s telephone-wise, and we find that, for example, in the Asheboro area, most of the electromechanical entities are still in place. And so it seems like it's still interesting. But from my point of view at the time, it was kind of the opposite, because important parts of the network that made it really wonderful were gone. For example, the carrier systems had all been replaced with T-carrier by that time. The Asheboro step-by-step switch, which was central to the switching network at the time, had been replaced by a DMS, a digital switch. The DMS actually slowed down call completion time between the electromechanical offices I was interested in. It also made it impossible to dial through it, so that if I wanted to find out, for example, if Randleman's toll trunks could be accessed through the outside, I couldn't do it anyway. So I didn't like the DMS. However, thanks to the fact that Northern Telecom didn't like to provide helpful software assistance involving their DMS, forcing the phone companies to do everything in sort of a one-size-fits-all kind of way, well, a situation was created in Asheboro where if you had a 625 number served by the Pentaconta, you could make free phone calls to anywhere in the United States and Canada as long as you had a particular device. And what illicit, underground, shady device was this that allowed you to make free phone calls all over North America? Well, I still happen to have one of these illicit devices right here. It's a rotary dial telephone. And all anyone needed to do with that rotary dial phone was to call Aunt Gertrude in Seagrove, not hang up quite long enough to disconnect the call completely, and then dial whatever number you wanted anywhere in North America, and it would go through for free and not make a record of the call. I think I'm the only person, however, that discovered this, and I never told anybody. And while it was surprising and it made me laugh to find it, it didn't really mean anything to me because I was paying for my phone calls by that point, and the network in which it occurred was a network, to me, of deterioration. In fact, by 1986, my interest in phones was dead. To do a phone trip was kind of an obligatory review. Now, viewed from the present time, it's amazing when you go back to 1986 to see how much of the analog telephone network was still in place and working, and so it seems interesting. So let's go to Asheboro for the last time with a tape recorder and a coin phone, shall we?
If you'd like to make a call...
Actually, I'm kind of lukewarm about that.
Well, now I'm in Asheboro, North Carolina again after 9 years. Again, I've gone to the area that is served by the Pentaconta 625, and we'll dial around and see what's changed. I know one thing that's changed is a lot of the vacant number announcements are now done by the lovely and talented Yetta Levitt. One thing that has not changed, I've had to look for a phone that was hearing aid compatible. I'm walking up to this one, and hopefully it is. Oh no, every time I dial 6 on this phone, I get several digits. After maybe about 7 or 8 attempts, I've dialed a 6.
One good thing I can say for Asheboro in 1986 is that there still were telephone booths. But the phones themselves had been replaced by these strange phones that had touch-tone buttons that did not move at all. You just had to touch them, and it was somehow supposed to work. What it actually did was that about 4 out of 5 times I would press a button, 2 or 3 touch tones would play in sequence in sort of a haphazard manner, making it almost impossible to dial a number, except kind of calling numbers at random. And in that process, unrelated to the problem with the phone, I got 2 double connections.
Hello.
Who's speaking?
I'm sorry, the number you have reached is not in service at this time. If you need assistance, please hang up and dial your directory assistance operator. This is a recording in Asheboro, North Carolina.
Hello? 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 Well, I think we've seen the telephone service here is better than ever. I dialed a vacant code, and by the way, I didn't mean to do that. This bad dial forced me to, and immediately get crossed with another caller. Let me see if I can successfully dial my own number. Hello? 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 What number are you calling, please?
625.
I'm sorry, the number you have reached is not in service at this time. If you need assistance, please hang up and dial your directory assistance operator. This is a recording in Asheboro, North Carolina.
I'm sorry, 625?
2121.
Your call should probably be going through. Try it again.
Okay.
The tape ran out at this point, during which time the gentleman hung up, then picked up, and was still connected.
All right, try hanging up again. He can't hang up until I hang up.
This is a recording in Asheboro, North Carolina.
That is my first successful dialing of a phone number. Well, we've made one call. Now on this next call, there are a few things to listen to. First, you'll notice that on the dial tone, you can hear John Doyle announcing the time. If you don't hear it this time, you'll hear it again. It's on many of these dial tones. And I'm going to call a 629 vacant number. Now in program 2 of the Asheboro series, I was wondering whether they had overlap outpulsing, where the switch begins to dial out to the office you're calling while you're still dialing a number. I found that they did not. But now they do, and for good reason. The Asheboro step, which handled the code 629, had also acted as a tandem from this office to reach all the tributaries except the 672, is now a digital. It's a Northern Telecom DMS. It replaces a step that was able to accept a 1-digit code representing the exchange you wanted to call, plus the last 4 digits, and it could put the call through. Now the step, of course, had to be hardwired to do all that, but the DMS is a software-controlled switch, and having a dial pulse incoming trunk such that 4 means 824, 5 means 241, etc., should be a piece of cake. No hardware required, just build the translation table and you're ready to go, right?
Not.
No. In fact, the DMS is going to require all 7 digits. because goodness, it would be so much trouble to write the software to convert it. And you know what that means? That they have to go back and hardwire, actually go back and change the way this old, soon-to-be defunct Pentaconta works to accommodate the DMS, because nobody wants to write the software to do a simple translation table. It's probably the fault of Northern Telecom, not the phone company here. So now, this Pentaconta has been rewired to accommodate the DMS, which has to have the 7-digit number we want literally spelled out in 7 digits. And thanks to the limitations of this Pentaconta switch, those have to be in the rotary dial form. So no matter what local call you dial, unless it's intra 625, it's going to be dialed out as 7 rotary dial digits. To speed up that process, they instituted overlap outpulsing in kind of a quick and dirty way, making it so that all local calls out of 625 start to go through when you dial the 4th digit of the telephone number. So when I dial 629 plus one more digit, it will get the trunk to the now DMS and start dialing 6, 2, 9, etc. Hey, I've hung up and reset the trunk, but now it's a trunk to the DMS. I should be able to dial something onto the trunk now.
We're sorry, your call cannot be completed as dialed. Please check the number and dial again, or call your operator to help you. This is a recording in Asheboro, North Carolina.
Let me explain what I just did. I dialed a 629 number that went to a reorder, and this office dial pulsed 7 digits to that office. Then I didn't hang up long enough, so it reset the trunk, and I dialed the digit 1 7 times, and that got us a recording, which that recording was done by Pat Trumbull, also an Autocron announcer that I used in my business.
That's Pat Fleet today.
So the recordings are all still Autocron, they're just not Jane Barbie. I gave up on that other phone because I couldn't dial one number correctly. I'm trying this one now. Hopefully its dial will work better, though it is of that same strange type.
Check the number or try your call again. This is a recording in Asheboro, North Carolina. We're sorry, you have reached a number that has been disconnected or is no longer in service. If you feel you have reached this recording in error, please check the number or try your call again. This is a recording in Asheboro, North Carolina.
Oh my God. I don't believe it. Oh, I don't believe it. I'll explain later. Let's just hope that I can hook switch well.
Is this later enough for you? I dialed a local call that goes through the DMS. 7 digits are dialed out. Goes to intercept, I do a down up on the hook switch, and I flashed 212-221-1111. It went through to New York. And no, I'm sure it did not make a toll record. This meant that anybody in the 625 office could dial any number they wanted as long as they were using a rotary dial or could hook switch flash the number really well. Just amazing. Unfortunately, the hook switches at these new coin phones were very hard to dial numbers accurately, but I managed over the course of the tape to fumble around and get a few accidental long-distance numbers that at least demonstrate the concept. If I'd wanted to talk to anyone, I would have had to deposit 20 cents. The phones were still post-pay. I've down-upped. You'll notice that as I try to flash numbers, it keeps interrupting going to intercept. I tried to dial 212-555-1212 that time, but apparently between the hook switch and the DMS it's not going to happen. But if I had a real rotary dial, it would probably work fine. Maybe I can manage 212-221-1212.
Good afternoon. May I help you? Hello?
Oh, yeah. You do have to pay 20 cents for local calls. Let's see how long I can hold for. Oh, so there is a timeout at the DMS. Very interesting.
We're sorry, you have reached an...
That time I tried to see if it would take 212-121. For New York inward, no such luck.
We're sorry, your call can...
Oh, well, no shortcuts. I'm going to have to hook switch whatever I want. I'll go back to that later. Let me dial around the local calling area a little bit.
I'm sorry, the number you have reached is not in service at this time. If you need assistance, please hang up and dial your directory assistance operator. This is a recording in Asheboro, North Carolina.
Assure the protection of your valuables with a safe deposit box at First National.
Time 5:29. Temperature 85.
The last group of calls were all to the 625 Pentaconta. And by the way, sorry for all the print through on this tape. I have no idea why this tape printed through so much more than all the others. I'm just glad they didn't as well. What I'm doing now is waiting for the relays to cut me off when I stay on the line after a local call is hung up.
I'm sorry, the number you have reached is not in service at...
4 digits on vacant codes. Let's try that again. Okay. Let's try another vacant code. Four digits on vacant codes. That's interesting. Let me try a long distance code without dialing a 1.
I'm sorry, the number you have reached is not in service at this time.
Hello?
If you need assistance, please hang up and dial your directory assistance operator. This is a recording in Asheboro, North Carolina.
Okay, let me check the recordings in the suburbs.
I'm sorry, the number you have reached is not in service at this time. If you need assistance, please hang up and dial your directory assistance operator. This is a recording in Ramseur, North Carolina.
Did you notice how long it took that call to go through? No wonder they're using overlap outpulsing. Not only does this office have to dial all 7 digits into the DMS, but then we have to sit there waiting while the DMS dials the last 4 digits into the tributary. So you just sit there on dead silence waiting. Apparently the DMS does not have overlap outpulsing. Another notable detail is that Ramseur is still a step, but the tone plant has been changed. It used to have one kind of typical independent tone plant. Now it has another kind.
You know, I was just thinking, you know the way the vacant codes go on 4 digits? That may have something to do with the overlap outpulsing. The outpulsing begins on 4 digits when it's a valid local code.
Those were 2 attempts to get a recording in Randleman 498, but that was always hard to do. There were only certain things you could dial that would go to the recording, and it was very easy to get that reorder. So I'm going to go on to Seagrove 873.
I'm sorry, the number you have reached is not in service at this time. If you need assistance, please hang up and dial your directory assistance operator. This is a recording in Seagrove, North Carolina.
All these tributaries go through the same DMS, by the way. It's the 629 machine, which in this case was used as a tandem.
Coleridge 879 is no longer a step. Here's the intercept.
We're sorry, your call cannot be completed as dialed. Please check the number and dial again or call your operator to help you. This is a recording. We're sorry, your call cannot be completed as dialed. Please check the number and dial again or call your operator to help you. This is a recording.
What happens next is I reset the trunk and try to dial 40, but that gets taken as 431 plus 4 more digits, a long distance number.
Hello, the office will open 8:30 Monday morning. Please leave a message at the sound of the tone or call 431-6133 in case of emergency.
I don't know how I got that answering machine. Let me find out. That 879, let me see how many digits that went through on. Yeah, it's dialing 7 digits on that. Oh, let's see what happens if it times out at this point. Well, that's very clear.
If in making a local call through the DMS you pause in the middle of the number like that, you stay on the originating register sender here, and after a certain amount of seconds you hear the DMS timing out to a busy signal in the background, and then
Calling 411, vacant code here. Well, that's it. It just freezes up.
surprising that at this late date the X11 codes aren't even built out, never mind in use. So here's 113.
Directory.
Do you have a doctor in the Asheboro area?
One moment. And what is your number?
I'm on 625-9036.
I have a Stephen. His number is 431-1211. That's a High Point Exchange.
All right. Does he have a local number here?
I don't show his residence. No, that's his office that I just gave you.
All right. Thank you.
You're welcome.
That should be easy to call.
Hello, the office will open 8:30 Monday morning. Please leave a message at the sound of the tone or call 431-6...
At least now I know what happened before. I meant to dial 40 and I got 431.
Just then I flashed 40, and the DMS took that as 431-1111. That's just amazing. The first time it was something very similar, just one digit off. Next, a ringing number in 879 Coal Ridge, followed by a milliwatt tone in Farmer 857.
Well, I'm not getting what I want, but I'm certainly getting an interesting variety of wrong numbers here.
We're sorry. Your call cannot be completed as dialed. Please check the number and dial again, or call your operator to help you. This is a recording. 919-857. We're sorry. Your call cannot be completed as dialed. Please check the number and dial again, or call your operator to help you. This is a recording. 919-857.
Jackson Creek 241 was a step that had St. Thomas tone plant, one of my favorite tone plants. It had a really nice Jane Barbie recording, which will probably be yet 11 now, but maybe everything else will be just the same.
We're sorry. You have reached a number that has been disconnected or is no longer in service. If you feel you have reached this recording in error, please check the number and try your call again.
You know, I usually try to keep the editorial comment fairly toned down, but this time, let's just repeat that.
We're sorry. You have reached a number that has been disconnected or is no longer in service.
Okay, that's how I really felt when I heard that the first time. But anyway, here's another one from Pisgah 381, and this recording gives false hope.
We're sorry. You have reached a number that has been disconnected or is no longer in service. Please check the number and dial again or stay on the line and an operator will answer you. We're sorry. You have reached a number that has been disconnected or is no longer in service. Please check the number and dial again or stay on the line and an operator will answer you. We're sorry. You have reached a number that has been disconnected or is no longer in service. Please check the number and dial again or stay on the line and an operator will answer you. We're sorry.
I'm trying 121 by itself this time. Nope, doesn't look like it. Just checking.
We're sorry, your call cannot be...
There was some interesting crosstalk on that dial tone. Sounded like someone saying the time. Sounded like it was saying time 5:52, which is the time. Let's listen and see if we hear that on the dial tone again. Yeah, now it's saying time 5:53.
Assure the protection of your valuables with a safe deposit box at First National.
Time 5:53.
Temperature 85.
Assure the protection of your valuables with a safe deposit box at First National.
Time 5:53.
Temperature 85.
You know, that's really funny. For years I've been observing that the time announcements by John Doyle typically use a different voice tone for the time than the temperature. He always uses an open mouth, high frequency containing voice tone for the time, but then the temperature phrases are kind of throaty, so it's time 5:53, temperature 85. And because of that, we hear the time shouting through the dial tone, but almost none of the other announcements. That last call explains why it's happening. Some of the lines keep picking up and talking over and over and over again. So one of them is doing that, and it's getting a dial tone. It's talking into the dial tone, and we're hearing it. Well, the Asheboro Pentaconta saga is coming to an end. For our last call, let's actually listen to that dial tone and filter the tones out. We will hear people's touch tones and the time announcement. Maybe even the other phrases, too. Wow, this is a busy time. Let's listen to the previous two long dial tones this way.
Yeah, now it's saying time 5:53. All right, well, I've dialed around the local calling area. I don't know what else to check here. Very little has changed about this office, except now that it 7-digit dials on local calls instead of 5 or 6 like it used to be. This thing is scheduled to cut over in 88, I understand.
One thing I omitted was dialing 672. I did that because I was under the impression that 672 was in the same switch as 629. But I don't know now that it really was. I may have been confused. So maybe 672 was still out there in 1986. Anyway, we've come to the end of this program and this series. I hope this one wasn't a downer for you guys like it was for me. I'm just remembering how it felt to be playing with what used to be such a wonderful network in the 80s and, trying to pick up the remaining pieces, as it were. But fortunately, this is not the end of my March 1977 phone trip, which I do intend to narrate completely. Next is Monroe, North Carolina, and there are other things ahead. There's a senderized XY in Lexington, South Carolina. Independent steps that have a dial tone, but each one has its own unique environment. I also happen to pick up 2 Bell System rural lines, each of which were very, very long. It was the only Bell System part of the phone trip. But it was kind of cool because these were payphones out in the middle of nowhere at the junction of 2 roads. And boy, were they rural. And there's an automatic electric CXP5 in McCormick, South Carolina, that talk about double connections. It just keeps happening over and over. But that's several programs ahead. Monroe, North Carolina is the next stop.